17 years of marriage. That's how long Emily and I had been together. We never had any kids of our own, but she had 2 daughters from her first marriage, and I was there raising them even before we tied the knot. From where I stood, our relationship had its ups and downs like any long-term partnership, but nothing I'd call major. We always prided ourselves on having honest, open conversations about work, life, even bedroom stuff. Most nights, we'd sit together on the couch just talking about the world, our thoughts, and the future. I honestly believed we had something real, something strong. Physically, we were active. We ate right, worked out, took care of ourselves. I work in a medical field, and for the past 5 months, I've been putting in long hours, extra shifts, lots of overtime. Emily works in legal consulting and has been doing her job remotely this whole time. The distance, both emotional and physical, had grown a little, but I still thought we were good. We'd reconnect on our days off, and to me, it felt like we still had that spark. Then last night happened. I was changing the filter in our Dyson fan in the bedroom. Needed to reset the app, and since my phone was charging by the door, I asked if I could use hers. She handed it over without a second thought, but I noticed she had a pattern lock set up. That wasn't normal. I didn't say anything, though. While I was trying to find the app, a Snapchat notification popped up. The message said, "Bring the special toy." It was like my brain couldn't make sense of the words at first. I just sat there, staring at the fan, my stomach in knots. Emily noticed and asked if something was wrong. I don't know how long I stayed quiet, but eventually I mumbled something about checking the router info for the fan. That seemed to satisfy her. But inside I was spinning. See, she's got these business trips every quarter. Has to go out of town for about 5 days. The next one? Coming up Monday. That message, there was no doubt in my mind. That's what it was about. I've been reading stories like this on Reddit for years. Never thought I'd be the one living one. That night, I couldn't sleep. She went to bed like nothing was wrong. I waited until she logged into Facebook on my Chromebook, and when she left for the office this morning, I got to work. I checked her Google location history. I went back through her messages, logged into her Verizon account under her name. Over 150,000 messages, stretching back over a year. Texts, flirty photos, some straight-up graphic. She switched to Snapchat a few months ago, but they didn't stop. They just moved their affair to a more private app. It's with some guy from her job, younger than us, married, 3 kids. I met him twice, shook his damn hand, smiled and nodded like a fool. I sat in the house I custom built for Emily, pacing around in circles, feeling like a ghost in my own home. I couldn't even process what I was feeling, just pure, searing rage. 3 nights ago, she was lying next to me, massaging my back while I fell asleep. And now I know she was texting him during those exact moments. I logged into her Snapchat, saw it all, everything. I call my best friend. He's been through 3 divorces himself. Not exactly an expert, but he's seen some things. He pointed me to a top-tier divorce attorney, someone who doesn't play nice. I booked a short notice meeting. It cost me a fortune, but I don't care. This is war now. I'm saving and recording everything. She shared explicit photos, videos, told this guy she loves him, told him my deepest insecurities. Meanwhile, she swore fidelity was her non-negotiable line. She always said cheating was the one thing she could never forgive. Turns out, that line was just for me. I planned to drive her to the airport like I always do. But now I can't even look her in the eyes without wanting to scream. I've started preparing for what's next. Printed out every message, every photo. 600 pages worth. Cost me over $500 at Kinko's. Shout out to Chris behind the counter for not making it weird. I also found the special toy. It's a fancy app-controlled device. Expensive. Already packed in her carry-on. We have a whole chest full of things like that, but this one's not for me. I want to fly out to her hotel. I already added myself as a contact on her hotel reservation, so I can get a key to her room without tipping her off. My plan? Drop off the printout and my wedding ring on the bed, then sit at the hotel bar, logged into her apps, and watch it all unfold. If I had the divorce papers ready, I'd hand them to her in person. Instead, I'll hand him a message too, a heads up that his wife is getting the same package delivered to their home. I already friend her on Facebook. When it's time, she'll get messaged too. I don't know if it's the right move. Maybe it's too much, but I feel powerless, broken, betrayed. And right now, I just want her to hurt like I do. This morning, all I could manage was a quick kiss on her cheek before she left. I didn't have it in me to say much else. Monday's coming fast, and I have no idea how I'm going to hold myself together until then. When the explicit photos first started appearing on the screen, my buddy, who was sitting with me, asked what the hell it was all about. I told him straight. He was taken aback, but reached out, shook my hand, and said, "I'm sorry, man." After that, I went home and crashed for about 3 hours. Around 7:30 p.m., Emily came through the door, like usual. The attorney I met with earlier had made one thing clear: skip the dramatic bar confrontation. She said that kind of spectacle might feel good in the moment, but it would make me look unstable in court. No yelling, no public scene. She told me I had 2 legal paths: contested or uncontested divorce. Either Emily would fight it, or we'd go through mediation and sort out the terms. But before any of that could happen, I had to tell her I had retained a lawyer. Emily had only been home for a couple of hours when I sat her down and asked if there was anything she wanted to talk to me about. She said no, nothing out of the ordinary, just stuff about the upcoming election. That was it. I wanted to cry right then and there. But the truth is I already was on the inside. So I asked her why she had a remote control vibrator packed in her luggage. The look on her face told me everything. Her eyes went wide, her skin turned pale, and she started breathing fast. Sweat broke out on her forehead. She tried to answer, but she couldn't string 2 words together. Tears started to fall as I calmly reached for the 3 file folders I'd compiled, printouts of her texts and messages with her affair partner. I asked her, "Does his wife have the app for that toy too?" She broke down crying, begging me to let her explain. I gave her 5 minutes. She wasted them sobbing and stammering. I told her exactly what my lawyer advised me to say. Then I told her to leave. She screamed that it was her house too. I didn't argue. I simply told her she had a choice. She could leave now and start finding temporary housing, especially since she'd be gone for work for a week anyway, or I'd start making sure everyone knew the truth. That included the girls she raised, our friends, and her coworkers. She froze, speechless. Then I pulled up her Facebook, opened her affair partner's wife's profile, and showed it to her. "Do you want to tell her? Or should I?" She collapsed into more tears, more pleading, swearing up and down that she still loved me and never meant for it to go this far. Then came the one that stung the most. "You can't do this to me." I told her, "Looks like I just did." I hit send on the message to his wife. I attached a file with screenshots and an apology, explaining who I was and what had happened. I haven't heard back from her yet. While Emily sobbed, I flipped randomly through the 600 pages and started reading their messages out loud. I just wish we could spend the day attached to each other. You feel so much more intense than any other woman I've ever been with. Her crying turned into wailing. She kept begging to talk about us, how she thought our marriage could survive this. I cut her off, told her I'd never forgive her, that her words didn't matter anymore, that the 17 years we had built together were gone because of her choices. Right now, I'm debating whether to report her to HR at her job. I'm absolutely going to tell everyone what happened. I feel like I owe it to myself not to protect her anymore. I want to thank the folks who reached out, even though I haven't been able to respond to all the messages. I have my first therapy session scheduled for Tuesday. Right now, I feel this bizarre mix of adrenaline and despair. I'm shaking. I feel like I'm falling apart. The house is dead silent, except for her crying in the other room. I told her not to come back after the trip. Tonight, I've been sending friend requests to anyone close to her. I plan on letting everyone know. That includes her family and friends. I want them to hear the truth from me. Tomorrow morning, I have to call the girls. I helped raise them from the time they were 11 and 6. They're 28 and 23 now. I have no idea how to start that conversation or even what to say, but they deserve the truth. Let me give a little more background to help explain how I ended up in this mess. Back in the mid-90s, I went to college in Las Vegas. Graduated in 99. I had a hell of a time out there. Lived fast, party hard, slept around a lot. Honestly thought marriage was outdated and wasn't something I'd ever go for. I didn't want kids. I wanted my freedom. But after I got my nursing degree, I went back to Texas in 2001 and went after my master's. Got certified as a nurse practitioner, specializing in cardiovascular surgery. For a time, I even started preparing to go to medical school. That's when I met Emily. She was a short, curvy redhead with a spark in her eye and a sharp tongue. She was getting over a rocky on-again, off-again relationship. We met during a hospital emergency, and things took off from there, fast. 3 months in, we were saying I love you. She was divorced and had 2 kids. Remember, I didn't want kids, but I was in deep, and over time, she introduced me to the girls. They were 11 and 6 then. Eventually, we moved in together. After a couple years, she sat me down and said, either we get married or we part ways. She was being honest. She wasn't pressuring me. She gave me time to think. 2 weeks later, I got an acceptance letter from medical school, 2 hours away. I was over the moon, but then it hit me. Long distance, tough schedule, years of debt, barely any time with her or the girls. So I made the choice. I turned it down. Went back to finish my master's instead. We got married in July of 2003. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. My parents always loved the girls, but they never warmed up to Emily. They stayed polite but distant. When I called them this week to tell them about her affair, my mom admitted something that stung. She said they always felt Emily was damaged goods and that I had compromised myself by being with her. As harsh as it sounded, part of me agreed. Over time, I worked my way into a specialized field, ECMO. For the past 11 years, I've lived and breathed cardiac cases, running machines that keep people alive when their hearts fail. Emily eventually got tired of bedside nursing, so it was too much drama. So about 5 years ago, she switched to a desk job at a legal consultancy. Her role was reviewing medical charts for lawsuits. It was steady work, 9 to 5, and it pulled her out of the hospital. That's where things stood until now. Saturday morning came, and the wheels were already in motion. 2 days after I found out about Emily's affair, I could barely sleep. My mind was a mess, dark, dangerous thoughts about my life, about them, and even about ending it all. The emotional weight of it was crushing. I was standing in the kitchen making eggs and toast when she shuffled in, still half asleep, and asked me if I could make her some too. I didn't say anything. I just threw my breakfast in the trash, right in front of her. Then I walked over to the old record player, loaded up one of my punk albums from back in the day, and cranked it to a volume that would make conversation impossible. Immature? Maybe. But I was done playing nice. That morning, I started what I now call pain shopping, reading through the printed text messages between her and him, page by page, in order. It's something I would both recommend and warn people about. It's brutal. By afternoon, I'd gone from blasting Black Flag and Danzig to playing every heartbreak ballad I could find. Chris Isaak, Ray LaMontagna, all the sad stuff. Emily came into the room again, this time with a completely different tone. She seemed irritated, demanding to know what the point was of telling her affair partner's wife. I looked at her like I didn't even recognize her. I told her at least that woman now had a choice, one I never got. She deserved to know who she was married to, unlike me, who had to discover it by accident. I had sent the file, and apparently, it caused quite the mess on their end. Emily sat down and started crying, asking what else I planned to do. I told her straight, I wanted to destroy her world. I wanted her to feel even a fraction of the pain I was living with. Then I said, if there was any ounce of respect left in her for me, she'd unlock her phone and show me everything. She refused, said it wouldn't help anything and that I'd just use it to punish her. I told her I needed the full truth, even if it burned. But she still said no and left the room. Later, I found her company's HR materials and onboarding documents. She works in a legal medical consultancy, and they have strict privacy policies. So I called their corporate compliance hotline and left a detailed message. I let them know she and her affair partner had discussed protected patient information through unsecured, unapproved apps. I also reported that she had supervised him on 2 projects during the time they were sending sexually explicit messages and images over company phones. That alone was a serious violation. I've always considered myself a calm and level-headed guy, but all of this has shattered that image. I don't even recognize the man I've become, angry, bitter, and out for blood. And it scares me. I know that someday, if I want peace, I'll have to accept her apology and forgive her. But right now, I honestly do not know if I can. That evening, I started making calls, family, friends, people who deserve to know the truth. I even contacted a physician friend and asked for an STD test. He had questions. I gave him answers. By 8 that night, I was exhausted. Sunday, day 3, I got up early and drove out to visit the girls. They live about 3 hours away. The youngest is still finishing college, probably delayed a bit thanks to the chaos of 2020. I've always had a respectful relationship with them, but it's not exactly paternal, especially not with the older one. With her, it's always been kind of distant. You're not my real dad vibe. The younger one is a little more open, but when they're together, that wall goes back up. I brought coffee and pastries and sat them down. I told them the truth. Everything. That their mom had cheated, that she would probably be moving out soon, and that I wasn't going to ask them to take sides. I told them they were adults now, and if they chose not to have a relationship with me, I'd understand. It would hurt, but I'd accept it. I also told them that whatever happened between me and their mother should not affect their bond with my parents, their grandparents. They agreed. I left around 11 and stopped by my best friend's house on the way home. That was the first time I broke down and cried since this whole thing started. I'd helped raise those girls. Their father was practically a ghost during their childhood, off starting another family 6 hours away. I was the one who was there. My buddy said I'd had enough to drink over the last 72 hours and needed rest. I crashed at his place that night. While I was out, Emily had been blowing up my phone. I didn't answer. Monday, day 4, I got back around 8 in the morning and saw her Porsche still in the driveway. For a second, I thought maybe she took a rideshare to the airport for her business trip. But no, she was still there. She had made breakfast and asked me to join her. I did. She asked how it tasted. I told her it tasted like static. Like I couldn't taste anything anymore. Bitterness and anger had been the only flavors I'd known for days. She had called in sick. She never went to her quarterly meeting. She tried to talk, said she was worried about me, that she still loved me. She told me her oldest daughter had called her and was disturbed by her actions. I laughed, but not out of humor. It was a strange, manic sound that surprised even me. I said, "You love me? You love me so much that you carried on a 1.5-year-long affair with a married man? You love me so much that you threw away nearly 2 decades of our lives together for nothing?" Still, she didn't give me a reason, and that's what made it worse. I walked over to the liquor cabinet, pulled out what was left of the Glenfiddich, and downed it. I didn't offer her any. She didn't deserve a sip. Then I started taking all the photos off the walls, wedding pictures, family memories, vacations. I stacked them all on the kitchen table. By the time I was done, she had already left. That afternoon, my lawyer's paralegal called. The petition for divorce was ready. I needed to sign and return it so it could be filed. I was still buzzed, but I read it and signed anyway. Later, I got a message from the affair partner's wife. She thanked me, reluctantly, said she had discovered even more texts and videos with other women. She had kicked him out and was hiring a lawyer. They're in California. He's in for a world of trouble. I spent the evening listening to music and drinking. Fell asleep around 4 a.m. She came home around 10 that night. When she saw the pile of pictures and keepsakes from our life, she broke down completely. She cried and begged me to talk. I asked her one thing, why. She had no answer, just kept repeating that she didn't know. I lost it. I called her names, reminded her of all the choices she had to make just to send that first message. I was drunk, angry, and reckless with my words. At one point, I stripped down, pointed to myself, and shouted, "You threw away this for what? Some pot-bellied guy with nothing to offer you." She lit candles and begged me to sleep with her. I turned on my phone camera and asked her to repeat what she just said. She still didn't get it. She thought this was about reclaiming something. I was too far gone, but I went through with it anyway. I recorded it. It meant nothing. We fell asleep in the same bed. When I woke up, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. My therapy appointment lasted over 2 hours. She followed me there, demanding to know what I was doing. I told her loud and clear. I was trying to fix the emotional wreckage left behind by the woman I trusted most in the world. The therapist saw the whole exchange. I was emotional, angry, said things I regret, said I wish she was dead. I needed help, and the therapist could see that. She prescribed me something to help me stabilize, and we scheduled the next session. Thursday's therapy session took a heavy toll on me. We dove into everything: my anger, the betrayal, how emasculated I felt, and most of all, the fear of what lay ahead. Just a week ago, I felt whole. I had direction, dreams, and someone I thought would always have my back. Now I felt like a wrecked boat, drifting without a mast or a rudder. Aimless, broken. My therapist didn't try to fix it all at once. He asked layered questions, each one forcing me to look a little deeper. One hit especially hard. He told me to ask Emily, calmly, what part of her allowed her to betray me like this. Not what she did, not who it was with, but what inside her gave her the green light. He also advised me to stop any physical contact unless I was truly considering reconciliation. Otherwise, it would only confuse things. I broke down multiple times during that session. I left feeling like I just run a marathon I wasn't trained for, emotionally gutted, drained, and sore in ways I didn't think I could be. When I walked outside, Emily was waiting. She tried asking me questions, tried talk. I ignored her and drove straight to my doctor's office for an STD screening. I gave him a brief summary of the situation, and he urged me to go easy on the alcohol and take the sedatives only if I truly needed them. Back home, I started packing. I made up my mind I needed out of that house. I couldn't keep living there. I called work and requested a meeting. I didn't trust myself to make clear-headed decisions in a setting where life-and-death calls were part of the job. When I met with leadership at the hospital, I turned in my 6-week notice. I explained that due to my wife's actions, my home life had become too volatile to safely care for patients. They were understanding. I've always carried my weight there. Still, it felt like failure, like something else she'd taken from me. Later that day, I picked up groceries and decided to actually eat something real. No booze, no more punishing myself. The therapist and my doctor were both right. I had to start treating myself with some decency. When I got back, the house was dark. Emily was sitting in the living room with a half-finished glass of wine, thumbing through old photos. She had on what looked like a date night dress, but her makeup was smudged from crying. She tried to hug me. I stepped back, pulled out my phone, and hit record. She broke down again. She told me the affair partner's wife had called and told her everything, that he had been sleeping around with more women, not just her. Emily said she felt like a fool, said all the awful names I'd called her were probably right. She begged me to reconsider, to give us another chance. I asked her why now. Why not during the months and months she was actively betraying me? Her remorse felt hollow, like she was grieving the collapse of her comfort, not the loss of our love. I told her she abandoned us a long time ago. This affair didn't start yesterday. And now, with everything falling apart, she wanted to talk about feelings? I told her about the corporate compliance report I had filed and all the work-related rules she had violated. I kept my voice low but steady, even as my hands trembled. It felt like I was finally saying everything I had buried for years. After that, I made a sandwich and went to bed. She was still in our room. I asked her to sleep in the guest bedroom. She refused, so I left instead. The next morning, I woke up to find her curled up next to me again. I slipped out of bed quietly and did some stretching to clear my mind. Later, I sat down to update my resume and send out a few applications. I might be relocating to Portland before the year's out. I love my parents and it'll be hard to leave, but staying in this city, knowing I could run into her, feels unbearable. That day was gray and wet. Rain on and off. I met up with my best friend for dinner and gave him the latest. We skipped the drinks for once. He tried to lift my spirits, but it was hard. I felt like I was sinking again. Not actively suicidal, but I couldn't shake the thought of what it would feel like to just disappear. I'm going to bring that up in my next therapy session. Emily, for her part, has been trying to keep tabs on me, sneaking trips to the library, checking my location through Google, claiming she's too sick for work, but still going to meetings. She's been sleeping in bed with me the past few nights, but it's not what you think. After Monday's rough, emotionally chaotic encounter, what some might call sex, I felt shame more than anything. At the time, it gave me a surge, like a rush of adrenaline. But afterward, I felt hollow. I brought it up with my therapist, and we talked about it possibly being hysterical bonding, the kind of thing that happens when your world collapses and you cling to something familiar. I recorded the conversation I had with Emily where I laid down ground rules. I told her this didn't mean reconciliation, not even close. I made it clear I would not be gentle or caring during these encounters. This wasn't about love. She nodded, almost like she agreed she deserved it. That night, I woke up to find her spooning me. I could feel her breathing change. I could feel her eyes on my back. I asked her about her meeting that day. She said it was with human resources and that she expected it to go badly. I told her she was probably right. Then she asked if there was anything at all, she could do to make this right. I told her no. The trust was shattered. You cannot glue something like that back together and expect it to hold. She even suggested an open marriage, where she wouldn't be with anyone else, but I could. I laughed. Trust is the foundation of a marriage, and we didn't have that anymore. Her trying to patch things with a half-baked compromise was just sad. Facing away from her, I asked her what I did that made her so unhappy. What was it about our life that pushed her to do this? She said I was great, that it wasn't about me. It was about the thrill, the adventure, the risk. She admitted she didn't realize just how much damage it would cause, not until it all came crashing down. Said my confrontation hit her like a freight train, part relief, part devastation. I got up and made us breakfast. Later that day, at therapy, I shared everything, the job stuff, her visit to HR, the sex, the suicidal thoughts. My therapist listened without judgment. He urged me to give myself permission to slow down, to pause, to just breathe. The session wasn't long, but I left with something I hadn't felt in days, a moment of peace, as if just for now, the chaos didn't own me. When I got back home, she was sitting in the living room. She looked drained. Then she told me, quietly, like it still hadn't sunk in, that she'd been fired, violating company policy, mishandling client data, breaking every rule about confidentiality. I just nodded and said, "That's too bad." I didn't want to talk. I went to the garage, lifted some weights, then made myself a decent dinner. She sat with me, picked at her food. Neither of us said much. Afterward, she let me know the affair partner had also been fired. I just said good. She said she hadn't spoken to him in 5 days. I looked at her and asked why. They were both unemployed now, both free, nothing standing in their way. Why not hop on a plane and go see her soulmate? She shook her head. "I only want you," she said. I didn't hold back. I told her she already had every piece of me, my body, my heart, my time, and it still wasn't enough. I reminded her of what I gave up for her: medical school, my dream, raising kids I never planned to have. I did it all because I believed in us. Now I know I was wrong. I told her flat out, if I could go back, I'd tell my 26-year-old self to walk away from her and never look back. She asked again if there was anything she could do to fix things. I told her that I would never sacrifice for her again. And without that, there was no future for us. No trust. No real love. I told her she was nothing more to me now than a body. Someone I might use but never love again. A week ago, she was the first person I thought about when I woke up and the last when I went to bed. Now, it physically hurts to even think about her. I'm walking away. There's nothing left here for me but pain. The more I stay, the more I drown in it. I'm thankful for the folks online who've shared their stories. They helped me find my footing again. But now, reliving all of this every day is starting to wear me down. It's time to leave it behind. I don't know what I want anymore. I doubt I'll ever be completely sure about anything involving her again. But I've got bi-weekly therapy lined up for the next month, and I've made progress. I moved out 3 days after that last update. Since then, she hasn't let up. She's texted constantly, left notes on my door and windshield. My lawyer recommended a formal cease and desist letter. I'm thinking about it. My therapist says I'm doing well. He thinks I've handled the heartbreak, the rage, the hopelessness better than most would. I agree. The night before I left, we slept together one last time. I made it crystal clear it meant nothing. No feelings. No future. She said she understood, but her actions since say otherwise. She was officially served the divorce petition in early October. Since then, it's been nonstop, calls, texts, desperate attempts to win me back. Some of it's borderline obsessive. If she agrees to the divorce terms, we'll be done fast. If not, I'm ready for a fight. She landed a new job about a week after she was fired. Not surprising, connections matter. I've accepted that she's not who I thought she was, either as a wife or a person. I told her I will never forgive her. I'll just accept it, move forward, and never look back. But not everything has been grim. There were two bright spots in the last few weeks. First, the girls, my stepdaughters, came to see me. I made it clear they didn't need to come if their mother had put them up to it. But the oldest insisted. While they were here, they told me they had a long talk with their mom. The oldest even apologized to me. Turns out, they thought I was the guy their mom had an on-again, off-again fling with after her first marriage ended. That guy, he's the one she had a revenge affair with when her first husband cheated. But they had it all mixed up. I wasn't that guy. I was the one who showed up after the dust had settled. Their father, who always bashed their mom, never told them about his own affair. So yeah, things were more twisted than I even realized. But their apology meant the world to me. That visit gave me a strange kind of closure. The second surprise? A colleague from another department at the hospital. She found out I was getting divorced, word travels fast, and reached out. I told her straight up I wasn't looking for a relationship. She said neither was she. She just wanted to have some fun. We've been hanging out. She stayed over a few times. Nothing serious. It's light, no strings, and honestly, it's been a good distraction. She even helped me pack for my Portland interview, drove me to the airport, and picked me up. And the interview? I nailed it. I also got contacted by a travel agency offering some short-term assignments around the country. I'm leaning toward that. Travel. See some places. Stay with my folks between gigs. For the first time in a long time, I feel free. My lawyer says there'll be no alimony or spousal support. It's a no-fault state. But the affair might help shift the asset division in my favor, up to 70/30ths. The house will be sold, and the comps look good. I'll walk away with enough to start fresh. 17 years gone. That stings. But the idea of a 3-month tour through Europe? That helps ease the pain. I might actually do it. Lately, the skies feel a little clearer. I'm not all the way healed, but I'm not drowning anymore. The days aren't as dark. The nights are getting quieter. And for the first time in a long time, I'm starting to imagine what life might be like on the other side of all this.